fam, what's good? It's your girl Ashley here, back with another video, a highly requested video that took me, you know, a little too long to get to you, but it's here, bam, in your face. So yes, finally I am here with the how to plan a backpacking trip, a traveling trip, get your ass out the country kind of trip, just, you know, to help you guys through your process if you're trying to plan a travel, especially solo travel, because I solo travel. For those of you that do not know me, what's good? My name is Ashley. If you are new here, in case you didn't know, hi. And I am currently documenting my weight loss journey on YouTube. Because I work online, I also travel, and so occasionally I have travel vlogs and like informational videos about travel in different countries. I myself so far have been to 17 countries, lived abroad in 3 for extended periods of time, from 3 months to 9 months to a year and a half. And yeah, I have no plans to stop anytime soon. I come back home periodically, and luckily I'm blessed enough to have a job that allows me to live this life. And so yeah, I'm here to kind of talk to you guys about that today. So if you're new here, you're interested in weight loss, you're interested in travel, you're interested in me, even though you don't know me, I don't know why you're interested in me. God, I'm awkward AF. Then please hit that subscribe button, throw this video a like, and let's jump into the video. All right, let's look at number 1. Numero uno, the most obvious. When it comes to planning a backpacking trip, when it comes to planning any trip trying to travel, the number 1 thing you need to be doing is knowing where you're going. Like, decide where you want to go. And sometimes that's easier said than done, especially if you're traveling with multiple people. Everyone wants to go different places. But this is super duper important because sometimes, you know, people say things like, oh, I want to get out the country once a year, or once every other year, or bi-monthly, or however frequently you can go, but they never actually put down a destination. And sometimes when you do that, your plans really kind of never get out the ground because they're in this cloudy gray area space where you want to go somewhere, but you ain't necessarily know where because you ain't never said it. And so one thing that I think is very important for making your plans concrete, and this is a super obvious point, I know, but decide where you want to go. Now, when it comes to deciding where you want to go, one thing that, you know, I do, I consider places, of course, that I have an affinity towards, places that are on my bucket list, places that I have been dying to go to for one reason or another. And so I have my bucket list countries that I want to go to, always wanted to go to. For some dang reason, I'm drawn to them. And I look at these countries, and I also look at the weather. So you might have a general idea of what month you're going to have off, when you're taking your vacation days, you know, what time of the year or season you're going to be free to do this trip. And so you want to consider the weather in these countries that you plan to go to. Because these countries are located in different hemispheres, the climate is different. Depending on where you are in the world, you know, you might be traveling for summer vacation, but if you go to a different country in a different place, it could be their winter. And with weather, let me tell you, sometimes with it being winter or summer can kind of be your smallest concern. Sometimes you need to look into whether it's monsoon season, whether they get hurricanes this time of year, whether they get tornadoes or tornadoes or earthquakes. So you want to look at the weather and the natural disasters that tend to happen in this country. Oftentimes, good weather conditions in a country will typically link up with whether or not it's a busy time of year, especially if it's over typical vacation days, you know, Christmas, summer, spring break, times where a large amount of people tend to have off. Then that will impact, you know, your experience when you're in that country, how crowded it's going to be, whether all the hotels and stuff are going to be taken. You just have to account for all of that. Now me, I like to go when the weather is good, most importantly, but if I can go when the weather is good and it's in the off season, then that is perfect. So that's one of the things I consider as far as choosing a destination. The weather will also impact how you need to pack for that country, which is something you do once you're about to leave, so it's way later down the line. But still, the weather will influence what you need to be bringing, what you need to buy, you know, especially if it's a super rainy country or gets super cold. So deciding where you want to go is one of the first steps, and these are some of the things that I like to consider when I'm choosing where I'm going to be going. Numero dos would be, how long are you going to be staying? What is the length of your trip? This is one thing that's important because if you don't know how long you're going to be gone, then you won't really know how much this trip is going to cost you. So definitely work out how much time you can take off, how much time you can devote to this trip, and then that'll help you figure out the costs. If you're going to be staying in a country for a longer period of time, then you know, okay, am I going to be staying in this one spot? Am I going to be moving from city to city to city? How long, how many days in each location? How many days in each country? You know, you want to be able to figure out the length of your trip and be realistic when it comes to this. You know, if you're planning like a backpacking trip and you're kind of working your way through multiple countries, you want to give yourself enough days to enjoy the country you're in, do your tours, do your excursions and whatnot, and then also give yourself time to travel from one location to the next. When I was younger, I made the mistake one time of trying to go back to back to back in a country, and I didn't really account for travel time in between. I was in Greece on the island of Santorini, and I was supposed to take a boat from Santorini to the mainland in Athens in Greece so I could catch my flight in time to fly back to England before school started, because this is when I was studying abroad in London. And of course, as I'm sure you can predict, the boat was late, 4 hours late, which then made me miss my flight, which I didn't have insurance on. I had to purchase a whole new ticket. Luckily, I had the money. Actually, I don't even think I had the money. Dad, thank you for paying for me. Daddy's girl forever, yo. And so I had to rebook the flight, sleep at the airport because the next flight wasn't leaving until the next day, and then I showed up late to London. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about when I'm saying figure out the length of your trip. You know, if you're hopping from city to city, give yourself a realistic time frame to travel in between and enough time for mishaps to happen, because they do happen. Number three would be budgeting. In my experience, any estimate that I typically come up with on how much I plan to spend and I'm going to spend, I always spend a little over. And so what I would recommend for you guys is to definitely do your research so you have a general baseline idea of what you want to be spending, but then also have emergency money with you in case you need it, because usually I need it. So when I'm researching to figure out the cost, I turn to many different websites. I like travel guides, but in all honesty, I prefer just to do research online. There's everything you can find everything online. No matter where you're going, there are probably expats who probably live there and have a blog about it. There might be YouTube videos about it. There will be just other people who've traveled there and who have written about it. There will be just websites and websites and websites about it. One of the things I do like to do is use Wiki Travel. It's like, I guess, a branch off of Wikipedia, but type in your country and type in Wiki Travel. And there's usually a lot of information on even Wiki Travel. There's so much information out there, so many blogs that you can find or articles. And honestly, sometimes one of my favorite things to do is to type in living in Panama experience. Sometimes I find when you're on Google, if you type in experience, then more personal blogs come up as opposed to articles from different magazines. And I like to read a lot of the blogs because there's like people who are living in this country, people who are, you know, been there for a while. And those tend to be very, very helpful in my opinion, especially because, you know, they're people who tend to either know the language, have been living there long enough where they know what proper prices are, the deals on things are. And sometimes you can like email these people and they will reach out to you. One of the main things that I often hear when it comes to travel is people saying it's too expensive, that they don't have the money. How can you afford it? They don't know what they're gonna do because they broke. But people oftentimes really do complain about travel being expensive. And I don't know, I'm not here to tell you that like, nah, y'all niggas is cheap and it's not expensive. I'm just here to say that if you budget, you can save for almost anything. Sometimes I like to, you know, look ahead and plan ahead of what countries I'm going to and then break down how much I need to save per day to make my goal. So for example, in 3 months time, I'm going to India. Woo, woo, woo. Bucket list, yeah baby, here I come. I'm super excited about India. And so for example, I looked up how much my flight's gonna cost, which is gonna be around $500. How much my accommodation is gonna cost, which this is an overestimate because you can definitely find cheaper places, but I'm kind of looking at more expensive places because I want to. And that was around $700 for a month. Then when you take into account excursions, how much you want to spend on food, you know, just like fun money to spend around town, or more importantly, miscellaneous fees, you know, when you buy a water bottle, when you go get a cup of coffee, like just some of the things that we tend to think of as chump change that add up. Once you figure out that number, you can just do the math and break it down and see, okay, so this is how much I need. The trip is 5 months away. So this means every single day I should be putting away this amount of money. If you plan far enough ahead where your trip is 8 months away, 10 months away, a year away, like the amount that you have to save per day is so minuscule. You'll see that you spend that on a cup of coffee. also in this category of figuring out your costs, of knowing your budget, just in this category about money when it comes to traveling. Another thing that can be really beneficial is looking for deals. Deals with airlines, deals with hotels and other places of accommodation. Look for some deals online. I'm signed up for, I think, the email newsletter for flightdeal.com. In all honesty, I haven't used it yet, but it's kind of nice seeing the deals that are available. You should also be looking into no-fee ATM cards. This is because, I don't know about you guys, but like I have Bank of America, and every single time I use my debit card when I'm in another country, they charge an international transaction fee. So if I use my card to buy anything at all, it's like an additional 30 to 50 cents I think that they also charge me because it's an international transaction. And so if you travel a lot and if you're gone all the time, it can be really beneficial to get a no-fee ATM credit card. So I do that, and if I have to use my credit cards back home or my debit cards back home, then I will try to like put myself on a budget, right? I know how much I'm gonna be spending while I'm in the country, and I take that money out from the bank, carry that cash, don't spend no more, no less. And that doesn't work for me all the time, but like it does reduce how many times you have to be using your card, which then reduces the international transaction fees that they charge you. Tip number 4 is gonna have to be about your visas and your vaccinations. Now, I think this tip is important to mention because it's obvious, but at the same time I feel like a lot of people forget about it, especially if you're not used to traveling. You don't tend to think about visas, especially if you're American, because like I'm American, and one privilege of being an American is that there's a plethora of countries out there that will let you come if you just show up at the border. So I know sometimes I've even, you know, waited until the last minute to look up visa requirements because I tend to assume, oh, I got this American visa, they'll just let me come in for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. And yeah, that's not always the case. Now, as far as vaccinations, I don't think a lot of people get their vaccinations when they probably should. I won't even lie, I never used to look up vaccinations and certain shots I may need for different countries until my time in the Peace Corps, because I was serving in Ethiopia and the Peace Corps let us know before you leave for this country, like these are the shots that you need to get. This is the medicine that you should have, you know? And so since then, I've just made more of an effort of looking into, oh, you know, I'm going to Thailand. I wonder if they recommend a certain shot that I haven't had over here in America, you know? And honestly, a lot of the times they do. Now, your normal healthcare provider might provide some of these shots and some of these vaccinations. For me personally, I prefer going to a travel clinic. And the travel clinic that I go to here in Los Angeles is Passport Health. If you just type that into Google, their address and everything will come up. I don't know if they work in other cities and other states, but that's where I go when I need to look into certain vaccinations and medications I might need in the countries that I'm going to. Tip number 5 is going to be booking your flight. Easy peasy, lemon motherfucking squeezy. Just book the dang flight. I like to book my flight months, and I mean months in advance, because the tickets are a lot cheaper. A lot cheaper, like significantly cheaper. Like I'll be booking things like 6 to 8 months in advance, okay? Your girl is trying to save. My number 1 choice when it comes to booking flights is using kayak.com. Sometimes I use Skyscanner, but like, in all honesty, the website looks kind of sketchy, and I feel like I might be getting a virus or someone's watching me enter my credit card information, and I ain't trying to get identity theft problems. So yeah, I typically stick with kayak.com. Numero 6. Point number 6 is gonna be booking your accommodation. Do this sooner rather than later. I know some people wait. I don't know what you're waiting for. I'm telling you, if you're going to a popular destination, those places will get snatched the F up. They will get snatched up so quick. I was trying to plan my trip to Bali for 2018, and Bali, as y'all know, is just like it's just blown up, like the massive tourist destination of all time ever since Eat, Pray, Love. Thank you, Eat, Pray, Love. But that place seems like it's packed year round, and I was looking months in advance, like 3 months in advance, to book my accommodation, and all of these amazing spots on Airbnb were taken, all of them taken. So don't wait, book your accommodations, or you might lose out on the really good spots, on the cheapest spots, on the nicest spots. Like, just book it. Now, when it comes to choosing accommodation, that's just, you know, up to you and your personal preference. Of course, you can do hotels, hostels, Airbnb. You can look for rentals and stuff online depending on how long you're going to be staying. I personally prefer to stay in either hostels or Airbnb, and I also couch surf. And I prefer these 3 options because I tend to travel solo, and so I like to meet people. And if you're staying in a hostel, it's a great way to meet people. If you're couch surfing, another great way to meet somebody. I do Airbnbs a lot now because I'm just like, Yo, I'm at that age, I'm not trying to get bed bugs, and also I don't want to deal with theft. I'm carrying a lot of computer equipment and my cameras, and I just cannot afford it. So yeah, those are my go-to. I don't like staying at hotels. They're way too overpriced in my opinion, and they have really crappy Wi-Fi. Like, I don't think I've ever been to a hotel that doesn't have crappy Wi-Fi. And because I work online, like, Wi-Fi speed is really important to me. And so couch surfing tends to work really well, and Airbnb. Another thing that I think is very important is looking to see where the airport is that you're flying into in relation to the place you're staying. Sometimes you're flying to the northernmost part of the country and your place is gonna be in the southernmost part of the country, and you gotta figure out how you gonna get there. So just look into where the airport is and where you're landing in relation to where you're gonna be staying, and then do some research to figure out, okay, how am I gonna get from point A to point B? You know, whether that's a shuttle, a bus system, Uber. Freaking Uber. Uber has changed the traveling game, you guys. When I don't feel like stressing out, when I don't feel like, you know, trying to figure out what signs say in the other language, use that phone, get a freaking Uber. It's so nice. It's so nice not having to haggle with taxi drivers, not having people screw you over with prices. Uber is just, and so far Uber has been in every country I've been to. Basically every country, maybe not in one or two, but I can't even think about which one's on the top of my head. Tip number 7 is going to be plan out your activities. Now, I won't even lie, this is something that I wait to kind of the last minute to do. Well, not the last minute, but I usually wait about a month before, you know, I'm going to be leaving, before I start planning my activities. But the sooner you plan out your activities, the better, especially if you're on a budget. Because if you look at different websites like Airbnb, I don't know if you guys know, but Airbnb has some really great like experiences and activities that you can do in certain countries. When you're in the search bar, just type in the country you want to go to, and instead of clicking on homes, click on experiences. And in some countries, they have a bunch of different options. They have them categorized. It's just really, really nice. And I've honestly preferred a lot of the activities I've done via Airbnb than over like TripAdvisor. But I also use TripAdvisor too. And last but not least, we have tip number 8. Tip number 8 is do your paperwork. Prepare those bills, talk to your credit card companies, let your banks know you're going out of the country and which countries you're going to and for how long. Give them that information, because you do not want to be in a country and they automatically turn off your credit card because of suspicious activity. You also might want to look into travel insurance, especially if you're an adventurous traveler, or kind of just in general, if you're carrying a lot of camera equipment or just expensive equipment, then yeah, invest in traveler's insurance. I'll include some things down below, links down below to some travel insurance websites that I know, to websites that I like to use, to everything that was just kind of mentioned. I will include in the doobly-doo down below, so you guys check that out. I think I'm going to be ending the video here. This is kind of all that I've come up with. It's a freaking lot. I hope it really helps, and I hope it was really cohesive, because I tried, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, if you found a single tip helpful, please throw me a thumbs up. It helps me out so much. Hit that subscribe button. Love you to pieces. I'll see you in the next one. Until next time, deuces.